Today we are taking the stereo out of a 2007 Saturn Vue. We're going to set the parking brake, engage the ignition, and shift to a lower gear. We're going to start with prying this bottom panel around the gear shift up and releasing clips. All the clips release with pry pressure. We've got the back edge up, so we're going to pull it away from the front of the dash and lift this up. There are triggers on all the connectors here, and we're going to squeeze the connector in on the 12-volt supply and release this connector. Lower connector here also has a trigger on it, and we're going to squeeze that into the connector and release the connector. The triggers on these connectors, one is at the top. You push that down into the connector and it releases the latch and will allow you to remove it. On the 12-volt supply, there's another trigger that you push down and then remove it. We're going to lift this up and over, and we have two more connectors here as well. One of them has a trigger on the bottom. I'm going to push it down into the connector and wiggle that connector loose. I'm going to leave the last one connected. Depending on the number of features you have on the vehicle determines the number of connectors there are. And then I'm going to set this panel down the side of the center console. There's 4 screws. One is here on the left of the pocket. One is down below this on the pocket, down here in this position. The third one is going to be on the right at the top of the pocket. And the fourth one is down here on the bottom right. I've already gone through and removed 3 of these screws. Now we're going to pinch this pocket and bring it out through the opening to get that out of the way. Next, we're going to pry along the edge of the dash, or the panel that surrounds the stereo, or you can grasp the bottom edge and pull on it while prying along the edge of the panel. This will release all the clips again, and all these clips again release with pry pressure. And I'm going to bring that forward. Now we're going to grasp this whole panel and pull it forward. There will be connectors on this panel as well. Some of these triggers can be difficult to find. The one here at the left side top has a trigger that you lift to release the connector. And I'm going to use my pry bar to go in and lift this trigger and wiggle this connector loose. There's one down. Well, I'm going to change sides here. Hopefully this will give a little bit better access to these connectors. Push the trigger down on the connector on this side. Push the connector down at the emergency flashers and release that connector. And then I have one connector left to release. There, finally. Now I'm going to pull this panel back and place the car stereo opening over the gear shift to give us access to the stereo. Again, these connectors have little triggers on them. Push the trigger in here with my thumb and it releases this one. This is the one that had the trigger on it that you had to lift up to release over the little lock on that one. This connector had another push and release, push down and release. And this little last one had a little lever or a little trigger at the back that you push down and lifted the connector up to release. Now I'm going to pull this up out of the way. And this gives access to the car stereo. Removing the car stereo is 4 7mm bolts. We have one here on the bottom right. One here on the top right. One here on the bottom left. And one remaining screw on the top left here. We'll now pull the car stereo from the dash. Access to the back of the panel here is we have a antenna adapter, or antenna connection coming out of the dash to the car stereo. We're going to grab the little black collar on this and pull this up and wiggle it loose. That removes the antenna. The main 2 connectors here on the side have also triggers on them, and we're going to push the trigger down into the connector and wiggle this connector loose. The remaining connector, we're going to push the trigger down in and wiggle that loose. And this is how you remove the stereo from a 2007 Saturn Vue. Hope this video has been helpful. Please give us a thumbs up if it has. And you may see us at carstereohelp.com on the internet. Thank you.